You are listening to the CADDle Call podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The CADDle Call podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the CADDle Call podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am Jim, your erudite and charming host, and with me, as always, is my partner.
Charming? Come on, man.
You see,
what do you think
how
this
mean
is?
he is to me, people? Tell him your name, at least.
It's Rocco.
It's Rocco, the mean guy.
If anybody is charming, it's me.
Yeah. See, he's so charming that I have to make all of you suffer through the engineering joke of the week because he says mean things about me. All right, Rocco, you ready for this week's joke?
I'm ready.
Okay, so a photon checks into a hotel and the receptionist asks if he needs any help with his luggage. And the photon says, "No thanks, I'm traveling light." It's not always about torturing the engineers. Sometimes just telling jokes that only they get. So, that was bad. All right, everybody. So we have a favorite guest back on the show today. Ramesh Sridharan from Autodesk is back once more. And Ramesh is the product manager for the infrastructure product team. And I think at this point, he's probably been on this show more than any other guest we've had. And Lord knows he's certainly smarter and more entertaining than Rocco or I. So Ramesh, we really appreciate it. Thanks for being here, sir.
Absolutely, Jim. Thanks, guys.
All right. Okay, so before we get into today's show, I'd tell you what, why don't we give Ramesh a chance to introduce himself to all of our new listeners. So Ramesh, what can you tell folks about your background and your position over at Autodesk?
Cool, definitely. My background is I'm an engineer, so I really like originating jokes. And almost all my career, I'm the reality capture, point clouds, how it's used for infrastructure, architecture, all those things, with my engineering mix to it, if I can say like that. And my position at Autodesk is I'm one of the product managers. Autodesk PMs, they always wear a different hat, but I wear the same hat and make it look different anytime I go.
There you go. Every time I talk to you, you've added more little pins and bells and whistles onto that hat. So, all right, good. So I tell you what. So since I figured since we're kind of getting close to the end of the year here, I thought this would be kind of a great opportunity to. I guess we'll call it get a recap wrap up from Ramesh, right? Who is the king, like he said, of the recap hill over there at Autodesk. And there has actually been just a lot going on this year in kind of that point cloud and the GIS space, that Ramesh is in charge of. And he's been on a number of times this year to talk about the details of what his team's been doing. But I thought we'd just kind of do a little quick, check back in today and see how some of those plans actually played out for him this year. And also hopefully get a little bit of direction on where he sees his team heading as we move into the new year. So Ramesh, kind of on your personal side, right? What's kind of your personal focus right now as we're ending out 2023?
It's fun, man. Every time you start, right, I come up with some personal focus. We thought we make a lot of great stuff when you talk to the customers, and they even go further. So whatever we worked on looks like a foundation to do the next year. And this year is no different. You're right. A lot of stuff been going on. Team did a lot of cool stuff this year, but a few weeks back, I was in Autodesk University talking to folks, and it's really great to see the people working in this industry now getting ahead of the software, which is the great stuff. And now my personal focus is on how to catch up with them, how to create some cool stuff so that keep ahead of them. And we're working on it. That's my personal focus right now.
Yeah, it's a good place to be, right? I mean, it's one of the benefits of heading out there to AU. You do see so many different folks who are doing things in so many ways you just never thought of. So I always love hitting out there. And unfortunately, Rocco's mean. He never lets me go anymore. He doesn't want to pay. He needs to get his third yacht. All right. So,
we should find a way to do that sometime next year. Yeah.
There you go. We'll force him next year. So, all right. So like we said, Ramesh, he does wear a lot of hats over at Autodesk. But I always kind of hit him up on the recap side of things, right? Since that is always like his biggest focus. And it's also an area that I just, here on the tech side of things with our clients at Zentex, I'm seeing more and more growth and interest in it. So I'm always kind of looking for cool new ideas on how to use ReCap more effectively and what new features it has coming. So, Ramesh, like you said, there were a lot of changes over the last year or two, right? With ReCap, there was a real big focus on it. So what is it that the team is focusing on right now?
Absolutely. So it's ReCap is one of the piece, right? It's funny, you asked a question, what do I do in Autodesk? So everything I do, like I work on the GIS side, I sometimes work on the geotechnical side, and constantly working on the ReCap side. But if we have to put a rubber band all around it, it's kind of like bringing the existing conditions to the users, but in a digestible way, not like a bombarded with it and then whatever's the right way to say is sometimes you give them too much data that people cannot use it. Give them in a package where they can use it and go with it. And that's been the motto for me and my team as well. And ReCap is obviously no exception to that. And the last couple of years, so we've been talked about this in the podcast multiple times, we are putting a strong foundation on cloud-based workflows. ReCap is notorious for large data. It's funny, I think we mentioned one of the time, some of the customers literally sit on top of hard drives and finding a way to use those data. So that's what team has been doing it for the last year or two. Good foundation. We have this Autodesk Construction Cloud, AZC, or a BIM 360. We can publish it, visualize it, make the data management, take the data management problem off of the customer hands so that they can focus on what they are good at. And that's what we've been doing on. And then we're slowly moving forward on that, adding information extraction from those data so that they can actually start leveraging the existing condition. So we added a bunch of features this year, and we got a lot more coming next year.
Nice. And I said that has always been the key. I mean, I love that, you guys recognize, right? It's the sheer amount of data that you have to deal with, and making that simpler for people is always a huge plus. So Rocco, let's ask about on your side, right? What's been kind of the level of interest that we're seeing from clients in terms of, point cloud and laser scan, related processes? And do you find that interest is growing or is it slowing?
I think it's growing, quite a bit. I mean, it's part of a lot of conversations that we're having, particularly around some of the scanning work that we're getting into here at Zentex. So, yeah, and it's, I think it's gotten a lot easier to work with point clouds, right? The whole concept is just, it's become more digestible than it was in the early days. So that helps the process along for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I give props to Ramesh and his team for, like I said, taking it and simplifying, right? What used to be you needed really high-end specialists with a ton of training to work with, it's becoming much more accessible to just about everyone. So I think that's huge. So, whenever Autodesk drops their big releases in this space, Ramesh is always here, to tell us, about them. But as far as I know, there haven't been any massive new updates since the last time he was on. But that doesn't mean that his team hasn't been busy, right? There are always, patches and service packs and updates, et cetera, that are always being, put out under the Autodesk subscription licensing plans. So, Ramesh, what cool things have you guys put out for users, in that vein since the last big update?
Well, yeah. So I think you're right. I think we have the ReCap, especially we call it a global launch that comes like April, the main dot release, and then that's the dot 1, dot 2 always comes up later here. But the cool part is, since I mentioned before, the cloud-based stuff, the cloud-based doesn't have to have like a big fancy releases. We actually started releasing almost every month or every 2 months. Since it's a cloud, it's very transparent to the user. You don't even feel it. You just go and start using it. The automatic features kind of kicks in behind the screen. Nothing to install, nothing to monitor. The software does more and more job for you. That's kind of an approach we actually took this year, and we plan to take it next year also, because everything happens in the cloud, much more subtle. I think that in the main release we released in the April timeframe is, like I mentioned before, extracting the geometry features. Now users can extract the feature lines, assets, and even the building footprints and things like that right off of the point cloud from the cloud. You don't have to download a single point. Everything in the browser, everything streams. You can you can actually literally do it in your iPad sitting on a beach, actually, if you have a good internet connection, obviously.
And if you have a partner who doesn't keep you chained to your desk like mine does. I'm just saying.
That helps, yes. So that's the approach you're taking. So the cloud-based stuff, and we are continuously enhancing that. A couple of months back, we added, like I said, the asset extraction feature. There are a few more that's actually coming out. We call it a Christmas release. I think it just released this Monday. Some more enhancements to these capabilities, and there are a few more we are lining up in a couple of months. So the cloud releases happens to be very subtle, and so it's not a major news or anything, but we're working closely with the customers. That also made a big difference this year compared to almost any year before. We have the customer meetings almost every 3 weeks. We actually literally develop a team, talk with the customers and say, hey, this is what we've been working on for the last 3 weeks. What do you guys think? And good or the bad or the ugly, customer says, and the team gets a response and thinks it out, prioritize it. After 3 weeks, we come back and say, well, how about this? You guys said something. How do you like it? So many of the customers are already in line with what team is working on. They know exactly what's coming. Very fluent, engaging, kind of like a community we are creating, especially on the reality capture side. That makes it much more easy for a product manager like me. And also, the most important thing is the product evolves. It's not like I come up with a feature and give it to Rocco and say, good luck. It doesn't work that way, right? So we are actually adding those capabilities, working with the customers. That's what came out this week, actually. Like I said, it just came out.
Nice. Yeah, I love that cloud concept that you're just, new updates, changes, better improvements will just kind of appear. You don't even have to worry about CAD management and layout and rollout and testing and all the other stuff. And I think the idea that you're meeting with the client base that regularly, I mean, it just gives a whole new definition to the concept of, agile programming. I mean, it doesn't get any more agile than that.
Exactly. See, and also the customer needs also evolving. I'm not saying changing, it's evolving, right? Once you see something is possible, and then obviously infrastructure customers are really smart and they have a lot of projects to work on. There are practical needs coming up. So adding the tools in that fashion makes it more adaptable, more usable directly, instead of adding one feature, like, let's say, for example, I measure it, I'm showing you a label in various different fonts and stuff. I'm not saying we added that tool. I'm just using it as an example, which is great. But if customer comes and say, well, how does it help me completing my project? And that's what they are focusing on. And that's what we should be focusing on too. So having that constant engagement really helps a lot. It's literally a win-win situation.
Yeah, I love that. All right, I tell you what, let's get a quick break in here to hear from today's sponsor. And when we get back, I want to talk with Ramesh about what we can look forward to under his purview in 2024. So stand by, folks. We'll be back in just a minute with more of the CADDle Call podcast. Hey, everybody. This is Jim and Rocco with ZenTech Consultants. And we wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the training options that we have available here for you guys at ZenTech Consultants. We offer public training classes as well as private custom courses for all of your software and design needs. So, Rocco, why don't you tell the folks what kind of training we offer and how do they reach out to us to get it going for them?
Yeah, Jim, we cover everything from Bluebeam to Autodesk to Microsoft to BricsCAD to civil site design training and beginner through to advanced level topics. Like you said, both public and private courses. If you got a group and want to run a class specifically for your team, we can help you. So just feel free to hit our website. We're at zentechconsultants.net. That's ZENTEK, or you can give us a ring, 866-824-4459, or even drop us an email, sales@zentechconsultants.net.
There you go, ZenTech Consultants for all of your technology training need. All right, everybody, welcome back to the CADDle Call podcast. We're talking with Ramesh Sridharan of Autodesk today, and we're focusing on the ReCap and GIS areas that he runs over there. And in this half of the show, I want to talk little bit more about the future, right? And what Ramesh is working on for the next year, or at least as much as he's allowed to talk to us about here on the show. So Ramesh, what is it that your team is working on today, right? And what can we see kind of moving forward into next year?
Absolutely. I'll give this one answer. I'm pretty sure anyone you talk to the future, they'll say this, I'm working on AI. That's a buzzword. Everyone uses it.
Yeah.
And we do apply. We actually already apply in the product. Just for the reason that people keep using that, I kind of I'm not using directly, but kind of show it in action. What are the features coming up? But definitely the using the machine learning part, add more contextual intelligence and for extracting the process. That's one thing we're actually heavily working on in the ReCap side. I'm one of the I'm one of the favorite proponent of automated solution. Automatic is great. You click a button, everything comes out good. Great. But if you could put it to any workflow aspect, someone has to go and test it. And if you go and check it out, that takes more time than extracting. Then automatic is not helping you. I always use this example. I might have told you guys before. One time I got my new phone. I have too many contacts. I had automatic contact merging. Have you guys used that tool before? It does it, but then multiple Jim or James in my contact, they all into one contact now. I don't know which Jim I'm calling anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So automated solution is where user, in this case, I'm the user using the phone. I am in the driver's seat. I will make the references, but the software does a heavy lifting behind the screen. That's kind of the same philosophy we are actually using, especially in the ReCap workflows, where we make the AI and machine learning work behind the screen, but user should see the results of it, not brag about the AI part, but you see the results and make that speak for itself. And that is one thing, like I said, we already have it in our scan to design workflow this year, and we are actually planning to add more. And one of the things is we are actually make it like a learn while it's working. If users, let's say it gives some results and user don't like it, they change it, and the software takes a note of it and makes a correction next time when you come around. So getting it smarter and smarter, literally learn from the mistakes aspect of it. So that is one thing team is trying to put foundation in the upcoming year. And I mentioned, keep using the word scan to design. What I mean by that is scan is obviously a reality capture data. Design is any geometry features, point lines, polygons. You want half of it to continue with your design aspect. In this case, infrastructure, civil design. So we are almost there. We actually have like a 90% of the stuff already in the product. Next year, we want to make it 100%. So any transportation project or infrastructure projects now can truly leverage the point cloud data right from the cloud, get what you want, continue with your work aspect. That is one thing we are really trying to accelerate next year. And every time I say point lines and polygons, it always hits me back in my head that, yeah, that's how people have been using for last 30, 40, 50 years, maybe even more than that. Yeah, so we are trying to go one step further. You cannot change the workflow overnight, but one step further to kind of like a challenge the status quo and push the technology to the next level. So we are adding planning to add a lot of capabilities on the BIM extraction. I know BIM is another word like an AI, which was overused in the past, and everyone, whatever they're doing with the attributes, started calling things BIM. But what I mean by here is like a 3D solids or 3D surfaces and things like that off of the point cloud data or anything, and take it to your design and modeling is one aspect of the BIM. And it could be for architecture too. Since reality captures everywhere, not just civil infrastructure, we are adding what we call as a scan to BIM workflows also, so that more information from the point cloud data. So literally user can pick and choose what they want and continue the design and modeling. That is one other aspect team is working on. And one more thing we're working on is streaming the point clouds. We are actually doing the clouds streaming in the browser. Sometimes you want that to the desktop product also. So we are trying to see how to stream the point clouds in the desktop products like Revit and InfraWorks, Civil 3D, Navis as well, so that we truly take the problem off of customers' hand and get them on their way to complete their projects effectively.
Nice. Yeah, and Rocco and I are big fans of what you guys are doing in terms of, like you said, being able to go in and more easily use those BIM scan to BIM features, right? We're doing a lot with, laser scanning and Matterport scanning and stuff here on our side. And, being able to go in and extract out, like you said, not necessarily the extended, building information model data so much as solid models and reliable, and being able to classify, this is a wall, this is a floor, this is the surface, this is paving, very quickly and easily, and extract those out into something that we can convert into, design models. That's the future for all of us. And I love what you guys are doing in that aspect. So that's awesome. So I tell you, one of the things that we've talked with Ramesh about on previous episodes, and it's something that I think is really important, is it's Autodesk's partnership with Esri, right? ESRI, and integrating the GIS capabilities of that product line with the Autodesk ReCap and their site and civil tools. And it's been just an absolute godsend for a lot of us who work in this space. So, Ramesh, since you're kind of the guy in charge of Esri over at Autodesk, you handle their integrations. What things are you working on in that space that people can look forward to?
Absolutely, man. So you're absolutely right. The partnership way of working is another key thing. Again, this is something maybe we might have discussed in the past. Every customer you talk to, right? It's not like they just use only Autodesk product. They use Esri, they use other products. Pretty much, it's no longer a competition world here. It's basically multiple products, how to make sure the workflow can be seamless so customer get what they want. So this Esri partnership definitely helps a lot on that aspect, where bringing those existing conditions on the GIS cloud, for example, and bring it very easily into the design and complete my design. That's what, as a civil engineer, what I want to do. That's what, as a building architect, I want to do. Don't give me the file format, the coordinate systems, all those things should be taken care of behind the scenes. That's the approach, in a very 30,000 feet approach on this whole Esri Autodesk relationship. And that's kind of what we delivered. I think we talked about in the past what we call as a connector for ArcGIS. Exactly the same thing. For the cloud, you can get it as a feature service, point lines and polygons, parcels, feature lines, scope points, all those things into Civil 3D. Now you can actually do it in the AutoCAD and other AutoCAD objects as well. So complete that part. And that was there for, I think, even last year or so. And this year we added more capability like custom stylizations, the property mapping, and so on. So now the next year we're kind of moving towards or moving forward on industry level integration. Like if you have a survey equipment, when the data comes in, how that can leverage this workflow, so that as a user you can actually make a more bang for this for the product you have and get your job done. And that is just the data aspect. This is where you get the geometry and attributes in hand, right? But then there's a different persona, like a project manager kind of a persona, who wants to get the project status at any point in time. They're not going to select on every single line or a polygon or attribute. They want the overall picture, and that's what Esri does. We are working on what we call the BIM and GIS collaboration. So this is popularly called as the Esri's ArcGIS GeoBIM product. It gives you in a browser a good dashboard of bringing the ArcGIS online, enterprise portal data, on top of it ACC data like a Revit model or the Civil 3D drawing or the InfraWorks model, anything you want. You can see everything in one dashboard. You can do the issue tracking and all those things. So that makes it more easy to manage bigger projects for the project management, project manager personas as well. And that's also already in the market. We are actually trying to make more enhancements to it, both Autodesk and Esri. And we are actually going even further. Now we are trying to make a platform level integrations like in a near future, you can actually bring in Esri base maps into Autodesk products like AutoCAD, Civil 3D, and everything. That's something that makes. I believe some of those were announced in AU as well, and we're actively working on it. And more product integrations like our water lifecycle workflows, like when we acquired Innovice, those products, InfoWaters, all those things will actually have more Esri capability. And now our other flagship products like a Tandem and Pharma, they're also planning to work on getting integrated with the Esri base maps and so on. So kind of bringing this whole ecosystem together. So it's no longer the product to product touch point. It's data at the center, and how we can bring into any part of the workflow is what we are embarking on. And the cool part is, since I'm the reality capture guy and the Esri guy, so we can actually bring both together. So Esri has something called ArcGIS Reality. They're doing a lot of good job on the data creation aspect. like we just discussed before, Autodesk does a fantastic job on the leveraging the data aspect. So we are trying to come up with a nice, clean workflows for the customer to bring them a beginning to end workflows on the reality capture side as well using this partnership.
Yeah. And like I said, I agree with you 100%. That partnership is just amazing, right? Just instead of fighting each other and just saying, look, you know what, there's plenty of money here on the table. Let's split it. And the client will gladly pay both of you to just make their problems go away. So I think it's been a real smart move on Autodesk part. So Rocco, do you find that a lot of the clients in the civil space are actively using Esri? Yeah, and I know we don't do a ton of work in that region ourselves, but are people at least kind of aware of it and using the Autodesk Esri integrations?
Yeah, it's not part of my everyday discussion with folks, but I know that a lot of folks are following what's been going on and starting to integrate some of this technology themselves. And like you say, it's just it's going to help to make the daily use of daily workflow, right, of everything they do easier. There's nothing that's more difficult than working with two products that don't work well together, right?
It's like working with you and I. Just
yeah. So that's like I said, it doesn't come up every day, but it's certainly part of. It's becoming more and more part of the discussion.
Yeah, I see that too on the tech side. All right, so even though we kind of talked about it on previous podcasts with Ramesh, I mean, I think it's important to kind of periodically revisit the most important tools so that people know what they should be looking to learn and to use for their own companies. And I think it also never hurts to see what advances or upgrades Ramesh is actually planning for those tools. So Ramesh, what are the best features in your current release, right? And what are your plans for improving those features in the next year or so?
Absolutely. I think this kind of dovetails with the question you asked me before. What's my personal focus also? This is to let the customers know what are the features we have and they can actually leverage it today. Many people don't know this, and it's not their fault. If you ask me what are the new features in Word or Outlook, I might not know, but I need to catch up too. So somebody has to tell me, right? So same way. The best features is on the ReCap side. Definitely, as a user, you should leverage publishing to the cloud and view it anywhere, anytime, anywhere you want, any device, without downloading a single point. And that, with overlaying with the model coordination and checking it and the design verification, makes this whole point cloud workflow. It kind of revolutionizing that whole workflow. And on top of it, this feature extraction really helps. Also, we got a tremendously great feedback in AU and before and after as well. So that is something I would definitely tell the customers, if you have not tried, try it out. Even with a small data set, check it out and see how it is. If it's not up to the mark, let us know. We'll be happy to make sure it works for you guys. And same thing with the GIS side too. The connector products GIS, I know we've talked multiple times, but some customers still didn't fully get into that yet because that some are probably waiting for it to complete, or some are trying to find a good opportunity to do that. And now it's the best time. So we have a complete 360 workflow on that. Check it out. Now the latest one actually has a custom stylization. You can define the way you want to, what should come in and how you want to come in from GIS to Civil 3D, and you can do that today. And we also started supporting arcs and curves. No more tessellation when the data come from Enterprise Portal. Makes it completely adaptable for the projects. Property mappings and AutoCAD objects, a lot of cool features on that workflow as well. Again, if you're a little bit shy on it, trying to do it in the bigger projects, I totally understand, and try with a smaller data set and stuff. See the results for yourself. I guarantee you'll love it and you'll use more.
There you go. I like it. All right, so I'm going to end out the show today, as I always do, by giving our guest the opportunity to talk about something that he knows that I don't, which honestly is a lot. But so what about it, Ramesh? What else should listeners know and be thinking about on kind of your side of the Autodesk house?
Couple of things I would say. One is, I know I kind of understated the part of the AI part, but it is crucial. Like I said, it's automated workflows are the key for the whole industry's success moving forward. More automated stuff will be, which means more project customers can do. Definitely, they should leverage those things and if anywhere we should be automating, or not just we in the industry, anyone should be automating. I think there should be more vocal from the customer side. That especially Autodesk, we listen a lot on that aspect. To speak out more, and think big and outside the box. Challenge the status quo. I mentioned this multiple times in the previous meetings and stuff. So don't force the technology to use in the old workflow. The technology is cool. A lot of new stuff happened. Mold the workflows to leverage the technology to get more efficient and stuff. And this point clouds, all those things I'm telling you is one of those examples, but a lot more can be done moving forward. And it's always some software companies can do something, but listening to the customer side, their challenge and those things actually drives the whole industry as well. So that's what I would say. The listeners speak up, think outside the box, challenge the status quo. That's what it's going to bring us to the next level.
I like it. Good ideas. All right, so we're going to wrap it up there, but I do want to thank Ramesh for taking the time out of his very busy schedule to be here with us, as he always does. So thank you, Ramesh, man. It's always a great pleasure to have you on the show, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Great questions.
All right. And with that, we are going to bounce out of here, and we'll catch you next time on the CADDle Call podcast. All right, everybody. Today's CADDle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net. Or you could even call us, 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from y'all.